Captain's log, stardate 42286.3. We have arrived on station at coordinates 3629 by 584, 3 days early for our rendezvous with the USS Victory. There is nothing to do now but hold this position and wait. Aha, the game is afoot. Welcome back, dear listener, to another episode of Hit or Miss Star Trek's foray into the myriad uses of the holodeck. This week, we're engaging in a little Sherlock Holmes mystery and some deeper philosophical questions. It's all elementary, dear Data. I am your regular host and consulting podcast detective, Michael Wilson, and I'm joined by my own veritable Dr. Watson and Inspector Lestrade. First up, returnee and occasional loyal right hand, Sandy. Welcome back, Sandy.
Hello, great to be back. It's been a while since I've been in the wider universe.
Yeah, since we've talked Trek, and I think it was Picard, wasn't it, we were last talking about? So
that's right.
Yeah, straight back to TNG for this one. So, would you rather be Dr. Watson or Lestrade for our purposes?
I would rather be Moriarty.
Should have known. Always the villains and all the best lines. So yeah, thanks for joining us and. Making her Hit or Miss Trek debut, but already a veteran of Hit or Miss Doctor Who and of Silver Screen. Welcome, Lynn. Hello.
Hello there. How are we all doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Apart from hobbling on a leg, everything's fine and dandy. But yeah.
Oh, bless. I think everybody's falling apart a bit. Yeah.
Crumpets.
Some tea and crumpets, yes.
No. I've got a nice cappuccino beside me here.
I was going to say she's Scottish. She would rather have something fried, anything in batter.
I'm not allowed anything in batter because my doctor said I've got to watch my cholesterol. But I have fried Mars bar every now and again.
I love that you are just living up to the stereotype. That is perfect. Fried Mars bar, genius.
Sickly and sweet. Just head for a toilet after because it goes straight through. Well, yeah.
What a charming start. Very classic.
I know. Put a little bit of buckfast. Get toasted with buckfast as well. And then, yeah.
We are going to head to 221 Baker Street shortly. But first, we do have a bit of other podcast business, as you'll know if you're a regular. And we do like to start by having our hailing frequencies open.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
So, you being a first-time guest, Lynn, we have a barrage of questions we get to ask you. Sandy, you can have a well-deserved break for a while because you've faced all these questions the first time you were on, whenever that was, probably a while ago. Yeah, apologies that you probably didn't know this was coming, Lynn, but consider this your light interrogation. So the first question I have to ask you is, what is it that got you into Star Trek? Can you remember the very first episode you saw, or the first time that you saw something and were like, oh, this is something I think I'm going to enjoy?
I can't remember the first episode, but I have very long memories of my dad sitting down with me and we watched The Next Generation. And then DS9 and then Voyager and,
Nice.
My dad's actually been rewatching a lot of Voyagers in the last season now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're very familiar with the whole
house
franchise.
Was never Star Wars or Star Trek. Yeah. So we fell on the Star Trek side of the argument. I like both, but I'm always going to have more affection for Star Trek, I think. So, yeah. Cool. I love The Mandalorian and Grogu. I do like them.
Everybody loves Grogu.
I have a Grogu.
Oh yeah, I've got. I think everybody has. I think it's a rite of passage to have a little cuddly toy Grogu at this point, really, isn't it?
I want the puppet.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to get that. So, yeah. So, yeah, I basically grew up with Star Trek.
Cool. Well, you sound like you're familiar enough with the whole franchise. So the next question I always ask is quite a big one. So again, sorry to put you on the spot, but it would be if you had to pick 3 episodes or movies to show somebody that you think represent the best of Star Trek, that you say are your favorites or the greatest ones to kind of get somebody into the various shows, what 3 would you pick?
God, that's a hell of a question.
It really, I can tell by the sharp intake of breath and then the silence for 5 seconds, like, oh shit.
Oh, Eisenhausen. God, you can't pick 3.
If you're not good with titles, by the way, feel free to just describe the episode and I'll probably know what the title is, because a lot of people just don't know that.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily pick 3 to recommend to other people. I'd pick 3 that I just personally like.
That's fine, yeah. If you want to pick 3 favorites.
I like one where Wesley Crusher goes off with the Traveller, and he's discovered to have this, secret ability. His genes mark him out. There was something different about him. That would be one.
Journey's End, I think the Next Gen season 7 episode is that one.
Yeah. I would possibly pick the film with William Shatner, Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay, Generations.
And Patrick Stewart, or Malcolm McDowell's. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I would pick that. And
interesting.
I've got to pick this film because I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong, I love the motion picture. It's just a work of art, but it's very, very slow. I love The Wrath of Khan. If any fan has to be introduced, it has to be The Wrath of Khan.
Yay. I actually did that with somebody once.
I happen to know because I got given by a very, very dear friend of ours a replica Wrath of Khan badge that Admiral Kirk wears, and some of the other admirals.
Oh, nice.
And it's a replica from the 80s, still in its plastic box.
Oh, awesome. That's going
to be
cool.
Worth a pretty penny, and I got handed it because I just, laugh at me all you want, and I'm sure there's going to be people that will laugh at this. I had a couple of tears and I had to wipe them away because I just thought it was a thing of beauty. And I just got put behind my hand. Here, take it. It's clear you love it that much. So.
Oh, yeah. No judgment here. I probably would have been exactly the same, to be honest.
I was just like, this is Wrath of Khan. This is Wrath of Khan. This is after motion picture. And he checked it out. Oh, you're right. Ooh. I don't have the heart to wear it. It's staying in the box. But
of course, yeah.
I think if anyone's going to be introduced to Star Trek, I would introduce them with the new Next Generation. Possibly, cool. I wouldn't introduce them with the original series yet because to some people it's quite
dated. Yeah.
However, if you're a long-time Trekker, it's got that thing that you look for.
Yeah.
You just can't put your finger on it. So you've got to watch the Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery. Basically everything, even Prodigy, Lower Decks, go back to TOS then, and then you see where all the origins are, where some of the characterizations have come in. Strange New Worlds, absolutely love Strange New Worlds as well. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I get it. Don't knock it, because Leonard Nimoy said there was no such thing as canon. It's science fiction has to evolve. That's how things die. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah.
I've never been a canon. I'm 1,000% on board with her progression she just described. I think that's perfect way to intro to Star Trek.
Yeah, completely, absolutely. So there you go. You've got a fan already, Lynn. You see, nobody's mocking you at all. We're all on your side. So
I'm a mixture. I'm kind of like half Doctor Who, science fiction, fantasy kind of dragons, space fiction, Isaac Asimov, galaxy fiction. You know, if you're talking like otherworldly, you're also talking Ray Bradbury. You're talking all out there. And then the other half, you've got Star Trek.
So the next question, and again, sorry, this is potentially going to be a big question and put you on the spot, but I swear we're coming toward the end of these questions now. So the next one would be, if you had to pick 3 characters that you respond to that are your favorites from any or all of the Trek canon, any series or movies you want, who would be your 3 top characters?
Ooh.
Silence again.
Ooh.
She's thinking, I can hear the little cogs turn.
First one I would say is Q.
Wow, that's such an outfield choice, but okay, cool.
And the reason I'm picking Q is when he comes along, all he does is bring chaos, but he seems to look at Picard and go, there's something a little bit different about you. You know, bit like the Celestial Toymaker playing with the Doctor and the companions, but you know, Q takes it with Captain Picard and, you know, puts him in situations 10 times more dangerous and trying to get him to think outside the box.
But I think it's the first time Q started to respect somewhat humanity because of Picard.
Yeah. Because someone was prepared to use morals despite what the consequences would be to himself. He would rather protect others, and it showed Q there were people out there that cared.
Awesome point. Absolutely. He couldn't agree more. So,
my husband's just pointed this out. They're saying, well, the view is that Q is a continuation of the actual Doctor himself, which is a direct link back into Doctor Who.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm 1 foot in that camp and 1 foot out of the other. I don't know what to think about that.
I think we just wrote the missing Christmas episode, y'all.
Oh, please, someone do that.
Somebody's got to do it.
Finish and Bad Wolf and BBC. Please, idea. Scrap.
John Delancey's available. I feel like he's available.
I would kill to see John Delancey play the Doctor even just once. Just one-off movie would be amazing.
Right. This is going to probably be an unexpected one, or expected, depending. I'd pick Wesley Crusher.
Wow. That would have been a real shock 20 years ago because everybody hated him for a while, but I think people have turned around a lot on that character. So, yeah, okay.
No. Reason being, when I was growing up, I'm an 80s child. So I don't know how old you are, Sandy, but
I'm 50. I was also an 80s child, yeah.
So I'm approaching 50. I'm not saying how many years, but I remember growing up in the 90s watching TNG.
Okay.
And I remember watching Will Crusher as a teenager being sent to the academy and becoming part of the ship and the crew. And it's, you know, kids watching it. Oh, wow. You know, it's progression. It's this. I mean, if you think about it, shows at the time, they never showed that kind of progression. This is the first one that does. It kind of shows the inner structure of how people move up the ranks. Whereas if you go back to TOS, it's just automatic. You know, you've got, you know, from the second season when Gene Roddenberry was ill, William Shatner took over a lot of it and cut down everyone's scripts. Yeah, I like him, but please forgive me for this. Well, he was a bit of a nasty piece of work. He wanted to further his career at the expense of others. And I'm not mincing the words here.
And it also showed where the families were. I mean, the whole thing about this ship was that the crew was there with their families, but you know, we saw more of that in later iterations of Star Trek, but this is the first time we actually see like, oh, this is somebody's family who's also on the ship, because Picard's family wasn't, Troy's family wasn't, Riker's family wasn't, Worf's family wasn't.
Yeah, fair point, actually.
Yeah, so
I think
This is the first character that literally is from a young teenager all the way through to his 20s.
Yeah.
Essentially. And he's taken off by the Travelers to do this job that he has been selected for out of billions of people in the universe.
Yeah. You must have loved Prodigy season 2 if you've seen it then.
Oh God, yes. My husband heard my squeals and shock when I saw it was Will Wheaton. I just went, "It's Will Wheaton," and it was just gone, absolutely gone. And it was just like my youngest went, "Who's Will Wheaton?"
How dare you watch Stand By Me and educate yourself.
We've not showed her Stand By Me yet.
What? Well, get the
my
tissues ready.
Confessed he's never saw the film.
Really? Oh, yeah. Well, you know what your next film night's going to be.
I'm teaching him all about films. Trust me, he's been watching Shark and he's never seen most of it. So, yeah.
Well, there you go.
So I was just like, I was over the moon when Will Wheaton was voicing his character. Brilliant. And it's just like, I'm like, oh, you know, we have been teaching Biddy about like sci-fi stuff. She's getting into some of it and some not so much, but we are trying. The other third character I would probably say would be Worf.
Nice. Worf was very close to my list. I do like Worf.
Love Worf.
I want his Bathla.
Batleth.
Yeah, I want the Bathla. I'm sorry. I want it in a glass case up on the wall. We did see one in our huge shopping centre in Sheffield, Meadowhall.
Well, you clearly didn't cry hard enough if you weren't just giving it.
I just looked at it and it was a thing of... Oh, no, yeah, I was crying in the shop and my husband looked and went, oh, for God's sake, sharp blades. So, yeah, he just went, you want one of them, don't you? I went, I want one. And the guy behind the counter went, oh, you're not the first one to do that. Trust me, you're not the first one.
I bet. I absolutely bet. So, awesome.
That is my three characters. I could pick more.
Brilliant. But I mean, we could go on for a while, yeah.
I know.
That's the beauty of Star Trek. I think if I remember correctly, my three that I picked were Spock, Picard, and Saru, but it changes almost daily. So that was just the ones that I said at the time.
Change because one's a teenager, and if you're a teenager watching it, you have that connection. I think Q is a sci-fi kind of. You don't know whether he's good or bad, so you always know something interesting will happen when Q's about. And Worf, he goes on to DS9, you know, so he has a continuing role as well.
Yeah, very good in the last season of Picard as well with Raffi.
Yeah,
that was a great.
That is funny. And then he offers herbal tea. I'm like, is that?
I will make it a threesome.
Going to battle? Well, it's just showing like an involvement of a character.
For sure, absolutely.
The different layers. So I would say they're probably my top three interesting ones.
Well, you'll be glad to hear we've reached the last question, and it is the obvious big question, which is simply favorite series, because there are several now. So
you're a bitch. Stop it. I'm not picking a favorite one.
Really? Oh, come on.
No.
Oh, boo.
I'm one of these where I am not. Oh, if you like classic Trek, you shouldn't be liking J.J. Abrams.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. No.
Shouldn't like Insurrect. No, there are people that do it.
No, I know very much so, but I'm not one of them. I mean, I have my own favorites, and I will pick them. But
there are people out there that will say, "Oh, if you like classic, you shouldn't like this." No. Yeah. Science fiction evolves.
I rarely bother with people like that.
I think the order in which you wanted people to start their Trek journey, I feel like those would mostly be your top three: your TNG, your Voyager, your DS9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Probably.
No, not exactly. If I had to put one of them in, if I just put one in, I'd put Strange New Worlds in. and there's a lot of backlash against that because obviously Pike is one that's injured in an accident. It's a nice way to provide a backstory, but have the original series kind of style brought into the 21st century.
I love it. I think you're with two lovers of that show.
Yeah, I was up until the third season, which was just such a letdown, honestly. But that's me.
You know what? I've actually got the green captain's top upstairs.
Nice. I do like that alternate, the wraparound tunic. Very nice.
Yeah, awesome. So I do have the wraparound tunic.
Nice.
And it's a green one, which Pike wears. So, yes, I went for the captain's shirt.
The first question that I have to ask you, Sandy, the only question I have specifically for you, and I'll come back to you and ask it again, Lynn, because I like to sort of get a handle on the things we're talking about when we're doing holodeck-related stories. I wanted to ask if you have any favorite holodeck, holosuite, or hologram-related things from anywhere in the Star Trek universe that you wanted to shout out that you respond to particularly?
I do like these that have... Actually, I like almost all the holodeck episodes. There's some that I don't like. And that would be the ones that are like the 1950s detective ones. And that includes the ones from with Cisco. Because they almost completely slough off any science fiction. And I would find myself very bored during those. And it just wasn't back when I was watching them, you know, as they were airing. And now, you know, like I can watch Spider-Man Noir, but it's still, you know, got that element of science fiction. And so those episodes that are, you know, contained just to the holodeck, I tend to hate those. But I like all the other ones. And I do like this one very much because of the nature of it.
I see what you're saying. So you'd rather have a little bit of a twist to it rather than sort of than it being a straight up spy episode. You'd rather have something like Our Man Bashir, which brings in the accident of the holodeck, the transporter or whatever, or like A Fistful of Datas. You're not just doing a straight up Western, which would get boring. You're introducing the multiple datas thing. So you've still got a bit of sci-fi in there, you know. So
and the Strange New Worlds one was very cool. I liked that one.
Yeah, we just reviewed that last week, actually. So same question to you then, Lynn. Anything hologram related that you wanted to shout out, especially that you like or don't like for that matter?
I'm going to go slightly against Sandy on this. I think the idea of the holodeck actually on board the Enterprise is great, alongside the apparent use of the dolphin kind of area where you have your two whales.
Yeah,
and I kind of think, why can't every ship that travels through space have a holodeck?
Well, they do by the time of TNG, I think, don't they? Really?
Yeah. But the thing is, if you're looking at sci-fi shows now, the grittier ones, they don't have anything like that, like The Expanse.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about some people in a room writing, right, what can we do to make this exciting? Oh, why can't we have a suite where you can imagine everything? And people, you know, if they're traveling in between light years, you know, you can book a holo suite, you can pretend to have an adventure, and that's an hour of time taken up before you do go and do something. I think if you're going to do a holodeck story, there's one that sticks out for me.
Okay.
And that's when Worf goes off the plank into the water.
The very brief start of Star Trek Generations on the sailing ship, yeah.
And isn't that when Data laughed or something?
No, Data pushes Dr. Crusher because she's like, oh, it's funny because of spontaneity. You have to do something spontaneous. And he pushes Crusher into the water. And then like, Data, that's not funny. That's when he decides to sort of input the emotion chip to try and understand people better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, you know, I kind of, sometimes they misuse the holodeck and sometimes it doesn't quite fit into the story. But it does have its place.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see how it. We'll see how it fits into the story when we get to review it.
The ones that I would pick.
I forgot
the
one.
ones out of DS9. You know, when you've got the nightclub.
That's what I was
the Vic
just
Fontaine
going to
stuff.
mention. Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely.
I did like that. It was,
they're just stylish, and you've got all the, it's the detail. That's what gets you. It's the actual details that you put. It's the little umbrellas and fancy olive sterling silver things that you put into the glasses,
set
the
design
cocktails.
and things.
You've got all the Art Deco. You can't fault it. So whatever they do,
I agree.
I think whoever does the writing, and these shows always have a research department, so they've got to get everything right. So if you can nail what is needed in the holodeck down to the last detail, that's just another kind of layer of perfection that you've got to look at.
Brilliant.
And I like.
Do you want to add anything, Sandy?
Yeah, because it was like the equivalent of TNG's 10 Forward. And Vic Fontaine almost became like a Guinan figure. He was like a sounding board for them. So that's why I really liked it, and that they returned to that one. And I could tolerate that. Yes.
I'd say we will see how the holodeck feeds into our main review, but also we're going to switch to the section that gives the podcast its name, the hit or miss section.
What about my performance?
I'm not a drama critic.
And we'll see, because there will be some things here as well. I do like to mix in things related to the season theme. So there are going to be things related to the holodeck on here, but not necessarily everything, because I do like to sprinkle other things in as well, which you'll know if you know me or you know the podcast in general. And if you are new to the hit or miss section, basically what I do is I throw out something from somewhere in the Trek universe, ask if it's a hit or a miss, have a very quick debate between us here, decide between, because there are three of us, so we'll have a consensus either way, and then declare that and move on. And so I've got 4 or 5 to do today, depending how we are for time. Are we both ready? We understand the rules?
Oh, get on with it.
Awesome. Well, the first thing I have on today's list is holodeck related. It's a kind of a continuation, if you are watching the rest of the series, of what we did last week, because I did ask last week about Sandrines in Voyager. So this week I have to ask hit or miss for the Paxao Resort Program, or Tropical Resort Program, from I think the 3rd season mainly of Star Trek Voyager. There will be a picture on screen coming up any second if you need a refresher. If not, I'll say there's not really much else I can say other than it was kind of a Hawaiian luau type resort that they used as a place to visit every now and then. And since you're a new guest, I will ask you first, Lynn, hit or miss for this resort program.
A miss. Okay. I'd probably get sunburn if it actually existed. So
I'm not sure you could unless the safeties were off, surely.
Well, if it's going to be the holodeck, the gods are going to have the environmental things, and if you're a redhead, you're going to burn. So Harry, Kim, and Tuvok are very, very lucky. So, it's not my cup of tea. A beach resort. I would be rather aboard a ship with a nice saber in my hand. Sorry.
So not your favorite of the Voyager, the various sort of holodecks that they use, because they used a few throughout the series. So
oh god, I love the episode where Janeway and Tom Paris end up having alien babies.
Oh yeah.
That's not holodeck related. They actually do that, but okay.
Yes, I know, but I just love the fact that it happens and they never find the babies. They just rescue those two. So it's a whole colonization of a planet. So, but yeah, no. It's
miss for this one anyway, though. So that's fair enough.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, it's your opinion. Rather you be honest than make something up. So, Sandy, how about you? What would you say to the Paxao Resort?
It was a miss for me also. I think in real life, like I get it. And if I had access to this place in real life, absolutely, I'd be loving it. But as far as my enjoyment of the show, it just always was. Yeah, miss for me. It's one of those that bored me. I would tune out.
Okay. Well, they didn't do a lot with it. It was really more of a, like I said, they tried to use various holo programs just as a way to not have you constantly in like grey boardrooms or whatever. But yeah, I mean, they obviously didn't find one they liked because they switched it out so many different times. But That's fair. Well, I mean, that's a miss anyway. I will say, just it's academic, but I would have said hit. I do like it because I quite like, Hawaiian themes and everything, and I would have probably enjoyed going there to chill out if I was on Voyager and feel like I was a bit in the open air and a bit relaxed and whatever. But it doesn't really matter because we've said miss, and that's a perfectly understandable reaction. So, and I will be honest, if I was on Voyager, it wouldn't be my first choice. I'd be straight to the Captain Proton program. So. Anyway, so the next thing on the list then is not holodeck related, but it is a ship because you know me. So hopefully you've both seen enough of Starfleet Academy. If you haven't seen Starfleet Academy, you'll have to go off aesthetics only, but there will be an image on screen. So hit or miss for the USS Athena. And Sandy, just to mix it up, I'm going to come to you first on that one.
I actually remember us talking about this when I saw it, and it really is beautiful. And it's this is the one that had satellite pieces to it too, right?
Yeah, well, it's got several because the actual Academy grounds are on the bottom of the saucer. The saucer itself separates, and then the kind of outer ring and the nacelle wing things are a separate piece as well. So it's very modular in that regard. And
it is just very reminiscent of the goddess Athena with the wings and stuff. It's really beautiful, and so it's a clear hit for me.
Yeah, it also has to be said that it's an exact replica of the comm badges they use. The comm badges are just the ship, which I love. In case anybody didn't notice that, now you'll know. So cool. Over to you then, Lynn. What do you make of the USS Athena?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this thinking this is just gorgeous. I want on board this ship. Sorry. You know what? There's wings. Athena had wings. It's the wreath around the head, which is around the ship. You have, it's a stylized. It's the micro details. It's just sleek. It's streamlined. It's just it's a hit.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be very boring for the audience because I've always loved this. I wasn't sure about the idea that it was the Academy grounds that made up part of it, but it's such a cool concept anyway. And the fact that you can detach the actual saucer from that, so that if you're going into combat, you're still keeping the kids safe more or less. So as soon as I saw that, I think halfway through the season, I was like, okay, that is brilliant. The fact that you can actually just be like, okay, we need to go to battle now. We're going to leave behind the kids in safety, and we're going to be a completely different ship, which is still more than combat capable. But yeah, every detail you've said, I love the wreath around the head look, the wings, the fact that it's got the Starfleet Delta in what looks like the center of the saucer, which is also the roof of the Academy grounds, which I think is brilliant because it gives you a real sense of understanding where things are scale-wise, and it just looks amazing. It just looks really cool. So, again, like I said, though, last week, if you listened, I don't think there's a ship I don't like, to be perfectly honest, but this one I am especially fond of.
I can't tell the difference between a lot of them, and I can't remember which is which, but I really like the Daedalus class where it's got the sphere at the front, like the hospital ships.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The Olympic class has a similar thing as well, the sphere at the front, but yeah, very unusual. Yeah. Anything that's a little bit unusual without being...
I love the NCC 1701, but there is a ship I love more than the Enterprise.
What is it then? I have to know.
It's a Klingon bird of prey and a Romulan bird of prey.
Okay. I got a tattoo of a Klingon bird of prey, but it's cloaked, so
No, my husband got me the original 1960s version
nice.
at a local convention that we had, and it's the original style of the ship. And I've got a Klingon bird of prey in firing mode, and I've also got models of it. So yeah, I'm with the Klingons on this one.
Cool. I remember buying a model kit, getting given a model kit for Christmas when I was about 16 and having to build and paint a model of a bird of prey. So I kind of grew to hate it for a couple of years after that because it was a freaking nightmare. But, I prefer pre-made models now.
Well, that's not fun. You've got to make it yourself.
Oh, God, no. I don't have the time or the patience. A Klingon bird of prey and a Kazon Raider that I got given, and kind of grew to hate both for a while. when you have to make them yourself. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, that's a massive hit for the USS Athena. Apologies if you're not a fan. The next thing is holodeck related again. Sandy, I think I know what you're going to say about this, but we're coming to you second anyway this time around. So hit or miss for the Next Generation episode, The Big Goodbye, or the first Dixon Hill detective episode. So Lynn, we're back to you for going first on this one.
I'm just going to say one thing. Spider Noir.
You like a bit of old-fashioned detective stuff, eh?
Oh, we've seen all Spider Noir ones so far. I love Nicolas Cage as an actor, and I absolutely love this. Okay. It's just this is Dixon Hill. This is the 1930s and the 1940s. It's the detectives. The women are in heels. They've all got the faces made up. The kind of the dresses. It's authentic. They've all got the pearls. They're all ladies, and you've got the guys in the trench coats, and the little. I know it's weird, but when you get a little notebook and you kind of flip it open, and they start writing their notes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's just that little thing, It's just kind of like they've got it always on their person just in case,
Yeah.
And the women always have kind of like their little kind of clutch, but have always got a hanky to dab their eyes. It's just beautiful to look at, and then the acting is superb. So yeah, hit.
Awesome. Well, just to give a counter view, I suspect, Sandy, what do you make of The Big Goodbye then?
Boring.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, it just was boring to me. But while Lynn was talking, I see that it did win a Peabody Award. So, it's obviously...
What for? Because it could be set design or it could be hairstyling or something silly. You never know, do you?
Yeah, it was costumes.
Yeah.
But still, it does seem to be widely appreciated by many people, all but me.
That's fair enough. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you find it boring, you do. I personally like it, but I like I'm like Lynn. I like that genre, the kind of detective noir, private dick type stuff. So I like seeing Star Trek go there. But I do like that it also ties into the episode, that it's Picard trying to wind down before the big kind of diplomatic first contact mission that he has to go to at the end of the episode. So it does feed into the sci-fi a little bit. But I think being the first kind of holodeck story that was entirely that its own, we can do a different genre. I appreciated it on that level. The little touches that, because it's the first time they go there, that it's completely foreign to them. So I will always remember the really silly kind of joke moment when Crusher sits down next to a woman and sees that her skirt's shorter, so she starts hiking her skirt up, thinking it's the style. Then realizes when this woman gets marched away by a cop, she's a hooker. So then she just pulls her skirt straight back down again. Like, oh crap! Like little moments like that you just wouldn't get anywhere else of cultural misunderstandings and stuff. And the bad guy, I mean, Cyrus Redblock, which is a great pun on Sydney Greenstreet for a start, who's a big sort of actor in these movies. And then the fact that he's like, I'm going to leave the holodeck and be great, and then tries and immediately just disappears out of existence. So lots of stuff to like from me in this episode. And I do apologize. You are slightly outvoted on this one, Sandy, because that's 2 hits to a miss.
I feel okay about it.
Sorry, Sandy. Some of us do love this.
No problem. I should
mention at this point that I have and my husband will back me up, I have a lot of hats. I have a lot of handbags. I have a lot of jewelry. I love my earrings. The more gothic, the better my appearance. But I can do smart. I can do elegant. And having to go up to Scotland occasionally, I can't wear all my goth gear, so I've got to have something else. So yeah, I love my hats. So nice. I was just thinking, fashion. And,
you're all set for a murder mystery party or something then.
That's one of the things that our youngest actually appreciates.
What's that? Fashion.
Fashion. She loves the fashion in Eurovision, in films, if it's stylized, if it's something that she can use for her designs, if it's, I don't know, a pearl necklace, a style skirt, a style shoe, a look for the hair, she will take that and use it.
Fair enough.
So that's how we've got her into a lot of science fiction with the kind of outfits, the kind of ships. So yeah.
Hold that thought, because there is a when I get to the critical response to the episode we're going to review, it did actually win similar kinds of awards, but I'll save that official reveal for when we get there. But yeah, so the next thing on the list is a character, but it is holodeck related, and you'll see what I mean by this. So hit or miss for the character of Leia Brahms, and I'm hoping you remember who she is as I come to you, Sandy, first for this.
I would say she's a hit. I liked how intelligent she was, and how much Geordi respected her, even though it was kind of very hard to see and kind of tragic how their story ended, if I'm remembering correctly. But I do think the character as a whole is a hit. I love that she was the only person who could have helped Geordi understand the issues he was facing, which I don't remember those clearly. But I just love that she was like a top expert in her field, and being a woman and being very driven. I did like her.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because that's like there's 2 different episodes, and they deal with different versions in a way of Leia Brahms, because the first one is basically the holographic version that Geordi has to replicate to help the ship out of some kind of technical issue or whatever that they have. And then, of course, in the second appearance, the real Leia Brahms appears, and you kind of get the reveal of like this holographic version that you think you were in love with is a complete fantasy. I'm a married woman and have no interest in you, which is, the kind of reveal that like this. Yeah, Geordi, you just fell in love with an AI chatbot that happens to look like me, dude. So,
but it was so poignant, and even very much prescient of our social media issues that started to develop when people have a social media persona. And then we find out things about them that aren't so great, or if you get to know one in real life, like they say, don't meet your heroes, which is a very funny Community episode too, involving Geordi LaForge. But anyway,
exactly.
But it's that same premise, and so it is very, she's a very interesting character, and very deep, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't love what she brings out in Geordi, the way he's kind of a bit incelish around, the fact that it's the holographic version. And so when he meets the real one, he's like, oh, can't wait for this. She's going to be totally wooed by me. And she's like, yeah, I'm married, dude. So what about you then, Lynn? What did you make of Leia Brahms?
No surprise that public transit can be a nice
interesting character.
Strange people. And the creeping feeling that you
you got to feel sorry for Geordi. Sorry, you got to feel sorry for him. He just builds up this wonderful image, because obviously the ship's in distress. They have to kind of bring her on board in some form to help solve the problems, and it's kind of romanticized, So, you think about it in kind of terms of this ship is Geordi LaForge's baby. He's a chief engineer, just like Miles O'Brien. So, this is their baby. So someone's coming in to help save something that they really, really care about, and there's going to be an attachment formed. And but it's when the real one comes along and you kind of think, okay, you can be a bit kinder than that. So she's a woman, she's got a career, it's whatever century, women's rights, women can do whatever career they want, it's more acceptable. But you still got to feel sorry for Geordi, because he gets his hopes up. And Sandy's right in the fact that social media, you wouldn't have thought that would have been relevant now, but that episode could be done now, and people will see the relevance of it. So
we said the same last week. Yeah, sorry.
It's catfishing for a lot of people. They put like photos that are not their photos, and they make themselves out to be who they're not, just so they lure you in. And it is down to social pressure, trying to fit in, expectations.
Of course, in this case, it wasn't her doing.
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
deliberately doing it, but that's what I mean. Is that it is in a way even more, and we said this about Hollow Pursuits last week when we talked about it in Hit or Miss. It's very kind of predictive of the way things are going with like AI and stuff. Because like I said, it's kind of like Geordi was basically like computer, like in the way that we would do an AI prompt, like, oh, talk to me like you are Leia Brahms addressing the situation because I need her knowledge. And it's like, yeah, but there's only so much a computer can do based on, like you said, media profiles and intelligence reports and whatever else. So it fills in the gaps and makes her this flirty, like, woman that it just assumes that she must be, and then she's not like that.
The thing is, a computer can only do so much, like you say. So if they are going to fill in the gaps, they're going to look at what a good personality is, what a friendly personality is. What are these traits? Are these traits positive? And then they kind of build up this electronic body that is in holographic form, and they filled in all the gaps. But what the computer doesn't have is the consciousness to realize they've created a perfect person based on who they're supposed to be working with. Exactly. And that is not good.
Yeah. No, exactly, because it is kind of it's the ultimate yes man as well, because it is designed to specifically be, what you want to see and hear at that given time. But yeah, I love Leia Brahms for bringing up all these questions, for the fact that Susan Gibney plays both versions and they're both very believable, the holographic and then the real version that appears later. Yeah. And yeah, I like that. You kind of hinted at it earlier, but I do like the fact that part of why Geordi bonds with her isn't just, she's a very attractive woman. It's the fact that she's responsible for a large chunk of the creation of the Galaxy class. Like, she's part of the development project of it. So naturally, because he loves the ship, he kind of loves exactly. But it's not just that. It's like Lynn was saying, he loves the ship, so naturally he loves the person that kind of birthed it. In his mind of like, oh, I love you, so many of these little components and bits and pieces, and you're the one that created them. So yeah, there's a little bit of that as well. I think that's an interesting touch. So I think Hit as well. So yeah.
My husband's just made a valid point because he's listening to me doing this.
Go for it.
And she may have got married after the Enterprise had been created. And
completely. Yeah.
Updated systems hadn't been told that information.
I assumed that. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's possible that the version that Geordi sort of creates as a hologram is from 10, 20 years ago when she was a kind of friendlier, flirtier woman who wasn't married and whatever at that point in time. But people move on. People, life changes. So I fully agree with what your husband's saying, and I always assumed that was the case. Yeah, completely. Awesome. Well, we'll leave it there for the Hit or Miss section then, and we'll call that I think mostly positive. So with that done, we are going to begin our analysis of the episode in question. So,
Spark analysis.
The episode that we're talking about today, as I already said, is Elementary Dear Data. That's the holodeck episode we're looking at. And let me see. In this episode, a holographic adversary is created on the holodeck of the Enterprise when Data and Geordi take some time off to play a Sherlock Holmes game. The plot line from this episode was eventually continued in the 6th season episode Ship in the Bottle, and the Moriarty character appeared a 3rd time in the 6th episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3, The Bounty. Though it wasn't, it has to be said, this version of Moriarty. It was just a random appearance. So, yeah. Before we go any further then, I have done my usual poetry corner for this episode, which, again, I always have to say, credit to the Delta Flyers. I did steal the idea from them. Sorry, Robbie and Garrett, if you're listening to my podcast, as if. So I always do, just like them, a haiku and a limerick to try and summarize the episode. And, yeah, I've written at both of those. And I did invite both of you to ask if you wanted to contribute anything poetry-related. Sandy, I get the feeling you were like, no, it's 10 a.m. and you didn't give me enough notice, so that's probably a no.
Yeah, I'm not at my best in the AMs.
That was entirely my fault. I really should have told you before that if you were going to do it. But so, Lynn, did you prepare any poetry or anything for the episode, or no?
Well, I mean, the fact is, Sandy, you might not know that Michael and I are part of an acting group, but I'm also a creative writer.
Nice.
So you're always prepared.
Always prepared, dear. Always prepared, and I've always got paper and pen. So I do have something very, very quick. Holmes, dear boy, you play it rather well. The music for the heart, could you make it rather swell? With pride beside Watson, writing adventures galore, but Doyle did show Sherlock the door.
Ah, cool. Awesome. I like that. That's a really cool little bit of a rhyming couplet poetry. Thank you for that. Thanks for contributing. So, yeah, hopefully the audience liked that. I like that a lot. And brilliant. Now mine's going to look a little bit simplistic, but I'm going to dive in anyway. So what would you like to hear first, guys? The limerick or the haiku?
Oh, haiku.
Okay, I'm going to do the haiku because you chimed in first. So hopefully I won't forget the limerick when we dive into the episode properly. But my haiku, which I'm hoping is does fit the 575 scheme because I never double check. My haiku is quite simply: Data is Sherlock, Moriarty is aware, moral dilemma. That's it.
Yeah, rough on window pane.
Can I just ask, is a haiku a Highland cow without any hair?
I think it can be, yeah.
Well, sorry, I had to ask because it just got into my head and I went, let's say it.
It's a cow on weed, isn't it? A haiku. Anyway, but no, that's cool. Well, so then the next thing I always like to do in the start of these things is to go around and ask if you can remember the first time you saw this episode and what your initial impressions of it were, without giving too many sort of spoilers of what your thoughts are now. So, Sandy, you would have presumably knew this was coming, so I'll come to you first and give Lynn a chance to gather some thoughts. Can you recall your first experience with this, Sandy?
I barely recall my first experience. I didn't watch this in its original run, but I was like two years behind when it was in syndication, so just a little bit behind its original run. But I remember just feeling okay about it. I think in my memory I conflate a little bit of what was brought up in this episode with Measure of a Man, because it definitely went more in detail with it later. But I remember it bringing some new ideas to me. And I loved at that age to philosophize and kind of be a little bit pretentious. And so I did appreciate those thoughts that it started making me think about consciousness and if this Moriarty deserved to live or deserved some semblance of life outside of the holodeck or outside of this world. And I just thought it was also fascinating too how those program parameters created this consciousness. So for me, it was just like a very intellectual episode, and I do remember liking it very much for that.
Awesome. And I know that you're a fan of the sequel episode, which we won't have time for this series, but hopefully we can get to at some point, because again, it continues these ideas quite heavily. So yeah, fair enough. So yeah, what about you then, Lynn? Can you recall your first experience with this particular episode?
If this was out in 88 and then you've got time difference from the US to the UK, it would be about 18 months, wouldn't it?
I think so, yeah, if you were catching it like on first run.
So if you're talking 88, 89, 90, yeah, so I would have been about 10 years old. I do vaguely remember watching this, and my dad seemed really impressed.
All right, okay.
I do recall going to the library after, and my dad getting me Sherlock Holmes out the library, and I read it in a day, and yeah, I was already writing vampire stories and poetry and God knows what else, and I was just reading all the time.
Cool.
So
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I was writing and reading. So yeah, it was a good episode. It fired the imagination up, I must admit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a lot of.
I would have been 9 or 10 years old when that came out.
Okay, cool.
God, that's scary.
Fair enough.
That's scary.
I know, right? Tell me about it.
I'm scared. I have grey hair, and I'm thinking, how old I am. Damn.
Never mind. You're only as young as you feel, as they say. So.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, my memories of this are weird because I know that, and I think I might have said this on a previous episode, that I was a kind of a vague fan of Star Trek the original series. My mum used to watch it, and I liked a good chunk of the episodes, but not everything. And then I got into watching Next Generation when I was in my mid-teens, around 14, 15. Because we got Sky TV, which UK viewers will know what I'm talking about, and because they used to show episodes every day at 5 p.m, because by that point in the series I think it completely finished, so it just went round in like a cycle. And when I started watching it, it was like partway through season 5. and I just got really hooked and kept on watching from there. So I'm pretty sure that I would have seen Ship in a Bottle first and just not questioned. Like that was the first part to that story. But I did obviously go back and watch, the episodes of Next Gen as it cycled back around on Sky and started from the beginning. And I watched it from the beginning. So weirdly, I would have probably seen like season 5, 6, 7, then 1, 2, 3, and 4. But so I did eventually come round to Elementary Dear Data. And like I said, I think a lot of the things that you guys have said, I think I was fond of the big questions. I was starting to get into Sherlock Holmes then, way more so now, I think, as time has progressed. But yeah, it is a scary thought for me that I was probably, let's see, if I was around 14, 15, it'll have been almost 30 years ago that I first saw it probably as well. So that's a little bit freaky to think. Because, yeah, I wasn't quite developed enough to appreciate, I think, some of the higher questions, but I still did get it and was still like, this is very interesting. But like I said, I think I was spoiled by the fact that I'd seen the sequel episode first, so I knew what was coming. So, okay, cool. Well, before we dive in then to the various bits and pieces about the episode, I do have a little behind-the-scenes information. So I'm going to go through that. And then again, if you guys have anything you wanted to add or to chime in or to ask questions, feel free to do so. So this episode contains elements from and references to the Sherlock Holmes short stories, The Scandal in Bohemia, The Red-Headed League, The Adventure of the Speckled Band, and The Adventure of the Bruce Partington Plans, as well as the Holmes novel, The Valley of Fear. Furthermore, Moriarty's creation being a result of Geordi requesting an opponent capable of defeating Data references Arthur Conan Doyle's creation of the same character for the short story The Final Problem, specifically as an opponent capable of defeating Holmes, who at the time Doyle wanted to kill off, as Lynn alluded to. When starting the initial Holmes program, Data gives the full name Dr. John Watson to LaForge's character. The stories of Holmes canon have identified Watson's first name as both John and James, though John is indeed used more frequently, and James might just be an anglicised version of Hamish, for which Watson's middle initial H may stand. So yeah. In 1989, Elementary Dear Data was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards: Outstanding Art Direction for a Series and Outstanding Costume Design for a Series, as I was alluding to earlier. So yeah, great costumes in this one. I think it's overall great design anyway, sets and everything. When the episode was created, the staff believed Moriarty to be in the public domain, given that The Final Problem was written in 1893, over 95 years before the episode aired. However, the Doyle estate complained to Paramount and vigorously defends the copyright to the Holmes universe, and the stories were not always in the public domain outside of the United States. Paramount and the Doyle estate eventually did settle a deal allowing for Moriarty's return several years later in the 1993 episode Ship in a Bottle. So be careful with your copyright, people. The episode's title, Elementary Dear Data, is noted as a play on the iconic but fake Sherlock Holmes phrase, Elementary My Dear Watson. Yeah, that's one of those things like Beam Me Up, Scotty, or Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, which has become cultural shorthand but doesn't actually get literally said anywhere. And in 2011, this episode was noted by Forbes as one that explores the implications of advanced technologies, in this case, exploring an apparently self-aware software program, which again is becoming more and more relevant, I think. So, yeah, anything in there that you guys wanted to comment on, or anything you wanted to add at all?
I've got a few things. I don't know what Sandy's got.
I'm in the clear. You go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah,
my brain is empty.
Mikey, you did warn her, right?
No.
Oh, you poor woman. Okay, here we go.
No, I adore listening to you. Let's go.
It's the accent, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it might be. Original ending was Picard lying to Moriarty about existing outside the holodeck. Maurice Hurley wanted to keep it. Roddenberry said it made Picard look cruel, and he vetoed the ending prefix with leaving it as no explanation. The Anne Elizabeth Ramsey, who plays Ensign Clancy, she also appears in the second season in The Emissary. She went on to do, after that, Mad About You, 6 Feet Under, and Dexter. Bear with me a second. If you're talking about Daniel Davis, do you remember I said there was a William Shatner link?
Yes.
Well, here we go. Daniel Davis is actually an Arkansas actor, but he actually did an English accent.
I was so shocked to hear that, by the way, because his English accent is perfect.
Yeah. Guest roles and recurring roles. Dynasty. Note the actors. The A-Team with Dwight Schultz.
Barkley.
Cheers and Frasier with Kelsey Grammer. And he was also in Star Trek for a brief role.
Yeah, Captain Bateman.
Yeah, L.A. Law, Murder, She Wrote. And The Spirit in 87 with Nana Visitor.
Kira from DS9. Okay.
Yeah. He is a stage actor. He's done Broadway shows. He's 80 years old now and still going strong. He's still acting. He was just in Picard. Officer. Listen, he was commanding officer of the USS Enterprise in the Hunt Red October.
That is such a weird coincidence. Okay.
And that film had Gates McFadden in it.
Wow. Trek links to everything. Like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
And here is where you've got your William Shatner reference, which I think Sandy will like. Do you remember the film K9 with James Belushi?
Oh, God, yes.
Who wants a dog? I want the dog. I need the dog. Well, one of those actors is a guy called Gary Coombs. Now, I don't know whether he's a relation of a certain Star Trek actor, but he is a veteran Hollywood stuntman, actor, and coordinator. He was a stunt double for Shatner for a lot of 66, especially for Arena. He has been uncredited for all Star Trek appearances, and he also took the form of the Gorn captain in costume. His father was Delmer Coombs, who was also a stuntman and trainer for Major Studios. And Delmer's grandson is a Star Trek stuntsman and carrying on the family knowledge.
Awesome. I've got a tiny little bit more as we hit the different sections, but not very much. But before we get into it, I do have to, before I forget, give you my limerick, if that's all right with you guys, which again, hopefully is a nice little summation of the episode. So we just picture we're all in a coffee shop clicking our fingers. So my limerick for this is as follows. Data heads to Baker Street with a holographic villain to meet. He just wants to live, but that's something we can't give. So for now, he'll accept his defeat.
Oh, that's well done.
Thank you.
I do like rhymes.
I am literally, I'm saving all of these limericks because I swear I'm going to make a book one day. Because I've done it for like the last 3 seasons, so just of random Trek episodes. And I think I'm getting better at summing up the entire plot in like 4 or 5 lines. So awesome. Well, with that out of the way, we will dive into the various sections, starting with the writing and the plot of this episode. This episode was written, of course, by Brian Allen Lane. According to Maurice Hurley, who was one of the producers, it was inspired by Data's experiences in The Big Goodbye. As Lynn already told us, there was an original ending where Picard basically tricked Moriarty into ending his existence or saving his program because he was actually able to leave the holodeck. There are hints of that because the drawing of the Enterprise leaves the holodeck and shouldn't technically exist when that happens. As the episode, as it stands, never actually explains how the paper leaves the holodeck, but I guess we can assume it got replicated when they left or something. Yeah. One of those really geeky things that were just like, don't worry about it. But as you said, Maurice Hurley said he thought the original episode was better because Picard actually has to outsmart Moriarty, who is one of the cleverest people in literature. But this way, there's not really as much actual matching of wits, but I do think it actually makes Picard look like a more moral character, personally, with the Roddenberry ending. And when the second program is started, Geordi asks for the arch, and Moriarty is seen noticing its existence. Holodeck creations shouldn't notice this, and it would suggest that Moriarty had sentience actually before Geordi created the program, which I suspect again is kind of an error because that shouldn't happen. And again, we could get really geeky with the things that shouldn't occur. I've never been fond of in this episode the fact that Moriarty can call up the arch, because I would think there would be some kind of failsafe that would stop holodeck characters from talking to the computer.
Kind of like when they say Alexa on TV and she doesn't respond. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, yeah, because I mean, they could in everyday speech say words like arch or computer, and then you'd be screwed if they started responding to it. Like, oh my god, it's talking to me. So they must have something that lets them ignore it. But again, you kind of have to hardware that away, and that's fine. So the central idea of this episode, then, what do we think about it? The idea that Geordi, with kind of just misspeaking one word, ends up creating sentience. Through the computer, the technology, the very sci-fi idea of it. What did you make of this idea, Sandy? Were you fond of it? Was it something that made you think?
I did like it, especially where. Well, first of all, I thought it was interesting that nobody had thought of this before, and like we learned in Strange New Worlds, although that was retroactively thought of, but that it's always possible, and I guess it's relevant today too, that's the scary thing, is you can't think of everything. You can't prevent. They could have prevented this if someone had thought of it, but no one did think of it as even being a possibility. And Geordi realizing his error, how he basically created this version of Moriarty because he had the program apply it to the real world data instead of the fictional Sherlock. It just was really fascinating to me. I really thought it was very, very clever idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what about you, Lynn? What did you make of this central idea?
I think, personally for me, it shows how dangerous, very early on, how AI can develop and develop a consciousness of its own. And you don't know what that consciousness is going to think based on the information that it gets its hands on.
Yeah.
So it's that element of unpredictability. So essentially AI is becoming human, and it's not AI that's scared, it's the humans that are scared because they know the programming has changed and they cannot predict what it's going to do.
Yeah, I think.
And
I mean,
can't rein it in.
No.
Yeah.
Because once it gets legs and starts walking, that's it. It'll keep on evolving and sizing up to the point it can't be controlled, and it becomes a threat.
Oh, for sure. And again, I'll probably end up bringing this up a lot as we deal with holodeck related stories. But it is kind of, again, it does relate very much to AI in terms of Geordi asking the computer to do something and it not having the guardrails to know that, like, this is going to be dangerous. Maybe you shouldn't immediately take this on face value. And then even the idea that be careful what prompt you're giving the computer, because, like he says, that one word difference ended up being hugely problematic. So I think it's very ahead of its time in terms of, like you said, be careful what you say to a computer, what you allow it to do, how far you'll allow it to go in executing whatever commands you give it, and the fact that it uses that for this kind of philosophical question. Sorry.
Fine-tuning the input parameters. How applicable is that today? Like, you put in some parameters for AI, you don't quite get what you want, and so you adjust those parameters just a little bit. And I found that, so I was like, oh my God, when I was watching it, I was like, that's exactly what I do. Like when I'm using ChatGPT at work to help me fix a schedule issue, for example, and it gets something wrong, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell it this. And it's just so parallels how we're interacting with AI today. So amazing.
It's another example of Star Trek, I think, predicting technology and things that we end up just taking for granted now that they were predicting 20, 30 years ago. Because I remember thinking, as I watched it this time around, that the first kind of attempt at coming up with an original idea is exactly what kind of an AI chatbot would do. So Pulaski or Geordi requests it to come up with an original Holmes story, and all it can do is combine some of the existing ones, because that's the only kind of thing it knows. It can't create something from new, so it just kind of remixes what it already has in its data banks. And I was like, that is so weirdly, like, they knew that would be all a computer could do, and it still kind of is to a degree. So
the thing is, my husband just pointed something out, that the computer did exactly what it was told to do.
Yeah.
In the end,
so the fact is, it only worked with the information it actually had. AI, Star Trek Next Generation were very, very clever. It's a very good example of AI taking over and trying to compromise with it because it's becoming a being of its own.
Yeah,
That's
it's true.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is, and it is interesting that it opens up the storytelling ideas as well, because it deals with this idea a lot. But I think basically every time it does dip its toe in this, I don't think there's ever been a bad version of an episode. So the idea of like what is life, what is sentience, which is often applied to Data as an android, but for the first time here is applied to the Moriarty holoprogram. Is like, well, he says cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Therefore, how can you say I'm not alive? I don't have this level of sentience. And again, it's something that Star Trek will go into a lot more as we deal with like the holographic Doctor in Voyager, for example, or even, as you mentioned earlier, Vic Fontaine, who's a kind of a self-aware holoprogram. It kind of muddies those waters very much. But
yeah,
I love that it asks these questions. I'm not overly fond of the way the episode rushes and just doesn't really answer them and just kind of gives a very, what seems kind of a half-assed, like, well, we can't do much about it right now, so we'll just save you and address it at some point in the future. So I am glad it got a sequel episode, because it did feel like, really? That's all you're doing? All right. But what did you guys make of the ending, Sandy? Did you think it was a tad rushed and a tad in what's the word I'm looking for? Not really fulfilling, I guess.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, in my memory, I must have been conflating it with a lot of the conversations that came up just 6 episodes later with Data and Measure of Man. But I was finding it very rushed. But those ideas were new back then. And so it was kind of like an intro to things that the show was obviously wanting to explore and continue to explore, like we saw with Control and Discovery. You know, it just really kept on going. And I guess as an early TNG episode, I think it's in line with what they were doing there. They weren't getting too deep in a lot of the episodes. It was entertainment, but I am retrospectively disappointed in that they didn't delve a little bit more into that.
I think I would feel a lot worse if it wasn't for the fact that I know there is a sequel episode that does address this better and does have a better ending without spoiling that episode, which actually, does a much better job of addressing the issue at hand. But as you say, I think this one, they were hampered a little bit by the fact that Gene Roddenberry initially nixed the ending that was written. So they kind of had to come up with something on the fly. But I never mind, even though a lot of people do, I never mind when Star Trek Next Gen shows Picard can just talk his way out of a problem and stay moral. So I do like that he's just kind of like, I'm not going to kill you. You know what I mean? We'll do the best we can. We'll save you and we'll look for a solution and we'll hopefully find it someday, So I do like that it stays that way rather than him looking, because in any other series of sci-fi and some of the other Star Trek series, it might have been a question of how can we trick him into destroying him because, he's currently posing a threat, and they don't do that, which I do like. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Lynn, sorry.
His threat, he was very much a gentleman, Oh,
yeah.
That's what's interesting, too, is that when he became his own, like the computer would have set him up to be a true villain and adversary of Sherlock, which is who they were expecting. But instead, it was someone who could confound Data. Which didn't necessarily mean that he had to be bad or evil. She was actually quite comfortable there with her scones and he.
Absolutely, yeah. He was, like I said, he's a gentleman and everything as well, but and he doesn't, outright threaten in what looks like anything like a severe way. But having said that, if I was one of the,
he was afforded that opportunity to be saved.
Yeah, but having said that, as I was going to say, if I was on one of the random lower decks, Enterprise crew members who didn't have a clue what was going on, and then the ship suddenly started violently shaking, and I didn't know what was happening, I'd probably be a bit frightened. But, you kind of have to forgive that.
But you'd be, Riker's up there, so you're confident you're going to be taken care of.
Riker? That's who you're giving me? Jesus. I'd be more comfortable with Moriarty in charge. No, I love Riker, really. So what about you, Sandy? Not Sandy. Lynn, what did you make of the ending, sorry, and the kind of issues we've addressed here?
Mikey knows me far too well. I'm going to disagree with Sandy.
Okay, all right.
I'm disagreeing with Sandy. I am going to say that it's anticlimactic, but it leaves a few niggles behind, knowing that that is going to be solved, but that is not the correct time for it to be solved. And a program can disintegrate if it's left long enough.
Yeah.
So I think what Picard is hoping is if the program is left long enough, the information will wear away.
All right.
Some programs do. Yeah, because programs will become outdated and then they have to be wiped. What if Moriarty's program is one of those programs eventually down the line if they just leave it be? And I think it's very smart what he did. I mean, the thing is, he does become a threat. Okay, I do have a humorous line that I noted down, and my husband looked at me when I burst out laughing, but I'll come to that when I come to that. But there was one line that I came across, which I don't know, it had an edge to it, and it's, I'm a civilized abductor, Captain Picard, civilized, but still dangerous.
Yeah.
And that is where it pushes over. It's slightly anticlimactical, but I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I think they are wrapping it up. I think it's one of those ideas that you get in the science fiction program that they have earmarked to solve further down the line. So it's a continuation. So you look back to that episode. It's kind of like drawing like a perspective on a picture. So I think it's like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was originally the intention, but I do like that now that we know there is a continuation of it, we can kind of look at it that way.
It drops of a few breadcrumbs in a very subtle way, but, you know, unless you know what you're looking for, I mean, obviously we're looking back with hindsight, but some fans watching it will have got the feeling, well, this is going to get resolved another time, isn't it? They're just putting it on the back burner.
Well, so it's also, the nature of TV means that I think we expect things to be more serialized now than we did perhaps back in the 80s. So somebody watching it now would be like, oh, it's not really resolved, so they're clearly going to address this next week, or, oh, another time in the future, or whatever, because that's what we expect TV shows to do now. But yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of other things. And the first thing I have to say is I do think the episode was very reverent and quite respectful of Sherlock Holmes, having been, you know, somebody who dived more and more into it since I first saw this episode and now knows a lot more about Holmes canon and, you know, Sherlock Holmes as a character, the way the stories are written, so on and so forth. And I did find it amusing that Data kind of does everything perfectly Holmes-like, and then Geordi tries to imitate it and just gets everything completely wrong. like it's almost like the episode going, look, it's not that easy to write a Sherlock Holmes type mystery. Like Doyle's actually quite clever in what he does, because you could quite easily fall into the trap of being Geordi and being like, look at all this genius, and like, no, you're completely wrong. Actually, did you guys like the way that it dealt with Sherlock Holmes as the kind of the genre within that it's dealing with on the holodeck? Sandy, I'll ask you first.
I did, and I especially loved when they first entered the Holmes's living space. Its design, I thought that was very, although it's been ages since I've read Sherlock, but I just felt like it was very true to form for the book.
Lots of Easter eggs as well, to the other books
and things. And it was just so warm and inviting, and I liked that, and I love how Data settled into the role. Yeah,
that is a nice touch, actually, that it's kind of more acting related, but I do like that Data and Geordi start literally like play acting the roles. They're not just using their own voices. Role playing, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, absolutely. Although I do think it does get a bit stupid when the ship is in grave danger and Picard's like, let's not wear our uniforms because that's old information. So let's take the time to stop and, you know, get dressed in this Victorian gear. And then you even have Worf turning up, and I'm just like, does it really matter that Worf's in uniform? Like, he's still Klingon. You know, you can't hide that big forehead. So dressing him in a suit's not really going to make you go, oh no, he fits in here.
But it was hilarious. You'd be a hit in London, Breaker says.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's just like, thank you, you know.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah. What did you make of the Holmes elements of it, Lynn? Are you a fan of Sherlock Holmes, out of curiosity?
I am, and so is my husband.
Ah, cool. Okay.
So
yeah. You appreciated that.
Yeah. Like I say, attention to detail. Very reminiscent. Leaving all the Easter eggs. The Almanac from the Valley of Fear, which is there's a novel. I especially like the line about the pawn shop. Bought for 55 shillings, a very good investment.
Yeah,
the violin and starts playing it, and you're like,
yep.
It's I mean, that whole scene in itself is, I don't know, it's two friends that are especially spending time together. So, it starts off with the ship, and Data's trying to understand what his fascination is with this kind of replica of this
sailing ship, Victory.
Yeah. And Geordi's trying to explain it's about simpler times. It's about feeling the wind blow by, seeing the sails. And Data, because he's not using the emotional chip that comes a lot later, but as a machine, but as a one with a conscience almost, he's trying to understand it, and he's not fully getting it.
Yeah.
He really isn't getting it. But he understands his friend's passion for it.
Yeah.
But he can't quite understand it himself. So it's the fact that they're spending time together, and he goes, well, let's go and do something Sherlock Holmes, and he gives him the pipe, and, it's something new for Data to actually learn, to kind of absorb. Now, what we forget is Data can download anything, so he can play the violin. He can, unlike Riker with a trumpet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So
that's
it's kind of, it's quite wholesome. And
definitely.
Then you've got the Inspector Lestrade that comes in, and oh God, the line. I'm in the juice of a dilemma.
Oh, well, thank God you're here.
I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
It's language, and tutting at Geordi. It's just like, Holmes is condescending, so Data's just taking that knowledge and that character and playing that character. He's kind of not putting everything into it because he can, whereas Geordi's trying to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But, I must say, Riker saying "nice suit to Worf." I mean, Worf does clean up rather well.
For a Klingon,
he'd stand out in 19th century in whatever age because he's a Klingon, but his clothing didn't match. But it's
very smart.
So awesome. The top to the bitch, though.
That's literally what I was going to go to next. I was going to say the last thing I want to bring up about the writing is I really just.
I'm sorry.
She's such a bitch to Data as well.
she's so condescending.
Yeah.
She talks about him like he's not even there. That's why I never liked her.
No, I liked her as a doctor. Sometimes she was good. Sometimes she was very acerbic.
She's all right when she's not dealing with Data, but her attitude towards him is really stinks. It's borderline racist, basically.
Because she's a ship's doctor, because she has experience, she's quite dry, she's quite upfront. And there's Geordi trying to explain, and he's going, no mystery, no game, no fun. And then out of earshot, you just hear, to asking Data to understand is asking a computer not to compute. That's bitchy,
Yeah. It's not just that though. It's like what Sandy was saying. Like when she talks about him like he's not there, when they're both standing, and then she's like, "Your little mechanical friend doesn't have a hope of solving a real Holmes mystery," and I'm like, "He's right there."
Yeah. It's like your circuits would short out if you were confronted with a truly original mystery.
Yeah, exactly. She's so mean. And just I'm not fond of that. I get the feeling it's the writers trying to because she always kind of struck me as sort of a Dr. McCoy attempt, and it's them trying to be the way that Dr. McCoy was. Dr. McCoy was often borderline racist to Spock, with this like, you green-blooded, emotionless freak, whatever. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't really work because you just end up not liking the character. And like I said, she's kind of nice in other areas to the Pulaski character, but whenever she's talking to Data and addressing him, it's just so rude, and you just end up hating her. And it's very not very Star Trek.
Just pointed out that she doesn't see Data as human; she just sees him
as a
member of the crew. So it's just like, because he's an android, that's the attitude she's taking.
She looks at him as like technology only. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the way. I heard this and I just cringed. I accept your challenge, Doctor, and I invite you along to witness it. I'm sorry. What's the point in taking part in a battle you can't lose? You know, if you're going to insult someone, you might as well do it thoroughly.
Yeah. I hear you. But that was what the episode was kind of getting at in the end.
Be nicer.
But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. I'm going to move on to the next sections, but I have to quickly do, before I do that, under the writing, I have, this is so random, but I have made the note. I never noticed before that Picard actually uses the French swear word merde, meaning basically shit, when they tell them what's happened in the holodeck. I only noticed that for the first time here, 30 years after seeing the episode, and I don't know why I spotted it this time.
And the fact that it made it past censors, because the censors, I guess, looking at it, weren't familiar with it.
Yeah,
it's French.
That's one way to get past your censors.
Yeah. Having said that, I mean, Data does say "oh shit" during Star Trek Generations, so maybe it's a word that they're kind of allowed to get away with sometimes. So anyway, so moving to the direction next. Then this is by a director called Rob Bowman, and as I said, he was given a choice of shows to direct, and he was disappointed at missing out on the previous season's period show, The Big Goodbye. He noted this episode was a huge production, and they built the whole street from the ground up on stage indoors, which is very impressive. However, Bowman was angry with a cost-cutting decision to reduce the schedule for filming from 8 days to 7. And he remarked in his words, "They made the shooting process one of the most unpleasant I've ever been through. I thought it almost killed the episode. Here was a show where we had all this great production value. Brent Spiner was about to do the best work I've ever seen him do. We had all these sets, and they said 7 days. I think that is when I started to pull away from Star Trek, because I felt it was a great opportunity to make a wonderful episode, and there was an arbitrary decision because the sets cost so much. I think $200,000, where they said, we'll save money by taking a day off the schedule. It's like, wait a minute, guys. First, you have to take a day out of the script. You don't just take a day off the schedule to save $60,000. As you can tell, I was pretty angry about it and still have a little hostility towards what I went through to make it happen." Yeah, I kind of see where he's coming from on that. I can see why he's peeved. But money men will always make silly decisions like that. But directing-wise, I think he does a fantastic job. The Dutch angles in this, I think, are doing overtime levels of work. You know, the way that he has Moriarty hiding in the shadows, or the special effects when the program starts to fail and you see the glitches forming the kind of holodeck yellow grid thing in the background walls are all the awesome things I noted about the direction. But throwing it open to you guys, Lynn, did you have anything on the direction that you noticed or that you wanted to bring up factually?
Nothing directionally. I think I like the fact that Moriarty was out of sight of the arch and he was watching what they were doing, and that's what spiked his interest. I kind of liked that. I mean, I like the fact that the director, obviously, if it's down from 8 days to 7, they had to kind of literally shuffle things around. I kind of like the fact that when they discover the lab and Data declares it, I immediately thought Rocky Horror Picture Show. Come on up to the lab and see what's in the lab. I was like, Nolan, no, don't think it. And then it's already there. And I was like, yeah, it's that kind of hidden layer. That's a good direction.
Yeah, all the sets and everything are great as well. Yeah, I mean that's production design, but
it's the way that they use the set and the actors are directed to use it. You know, that it's kind of like they know there's a hidden door, so they're directed. This is what you do. Just a little out. Don't spread it out too far. And then you've got the surprise and the door opens and then you act and appear, so the direction is really, really good for the elements of surprise and what they discover.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
This is good.
Yeah, no, I can't really say much else. I mean, I haven't written a lot of notes under direction and, like I said, production design. I've just written it's all very good, and I've mentioned, like I said, a handful of things that I noticed. But when it's really good, you tend to just get sucked up and enjoy the episode. So, Sandy, did you have anything you wanted to add, or have we kind of said everything that you might want to say about that as well?
You've kind of said everything. I would have to agree with Lynn that those visual cues were very important and well executed.
Yeah. Okay, and I have to ask, because I have literally nothing under music and sound because I didn't notice anything. I was just enjoying the episode. So did you guys notice anything about music or sound related themes in the episode?
What? You didn't notice?
No.
You seriously did? Specsavers, boy. Specsavers.
What was I not? Well, surely it's my ears. So.
Seriously. Some of the musical cues when they go into Victorian 1890s London.
Okay.
They've got the music. So you've got like the usual like theme song of Star Trek, where and I love those opening credits and the music behind it. And then you've got the episode, and then the music just subtly changes for going into Victorian London. And when there's humorous lines being said, there's a different type of music being played. And it's trying to make it as light as possible, but trying to keep it serious.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
Kind of match the music to the mood, and it's very, very, very well done.
Awesome. I'm glad you noticed, because it's. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I just didn't notice it because I was concentrating on other things. So I'm glad you did, and shout out to it for being good in that case. That's all.
The music actually helped a little way because it's done by Dennis McCarthy, and like I say, he's worked on God knows how much stuff. And I just kind of think sometimes you need incidental little segments of music. Yeah. When you're kind of shifting, say, a song's got a structure. So then it will go to a different section of the song and they will change the notes, the tempo will change. It's just literally that.
Trying to change me like cheerful part. Now we've got to go to the killings and horror.
Yeah, so it's kind of like bridging music where it's kind of funny, but it gives you a feeling like
it's like the mood's changing. Get prepared.
Yeah. So like mother, like daughter. Guess
exactly. Yeah.
Musical ear.
No, I actually accept what you're saying, and that's probably why I was kind of going along with it. I just didn't fully notice it on a conscious level.
Yeah.
But awesome.
Don't forget, music is designed to pull you in. So the more the music gets into your head and the more you're watching, the more your brain's connecting the two. And they have proven this. So if the music gets in, that's how hits are made. So if you use the music the same way that you do on the program, you will be more interested and you will be sucked into the program because your ears are listening to the music and you're watching it and your brain's trying to compute what's going on. And an episode like that, you're trying to work out what next step is. So it's engaging your brain too. So it's in a series of steps to pull the viewers in.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Did you have anything about the music or sound, Sandy, that we haven't mentioned that you wanted to bring up?
The only thing this isn't unusual for Star Trek. It generally has good sound design, but not as much opportunity for the books. And I don't know, those books, the sound of him dragging the pipe across the books and moving the books around, it's almost like I could smell the books. I just thought it really brought that ambiance of that first scene to life. And I did notice that as I was watching it and appreciate it.
Yeah, I have to say on a kind of micro level, I did appreciate it when they first done a holodeck, and I did notice that you can hear the whinnying horses and the kind of the whatever you call them, little carriage wheels and things. So it did very much sound like, we're entering several hundred years ago London. So I appreciate that for what it was as well. But
I can give an example as well, because at one point when the Doctor is kidnapped, so the music behind you're not aware of, and because Data is describing the footfalls, the scuff marks on the ground, the little bits of plastic left. It's got a piece of music behind it. If you rewatch it, it's very, very subtle and it changes. And then it's kind of like a little humor kind of jingle to get you into the next piece of music or where it quiets down. And he goes, the game is afoot. He's been talking about footfalls. So there's a little bit of humor in the music coming through with the lines that's actually being said.
Yeah, cool. Fair enough. The next thing then we wanted to talk about very quickly, because we only have about 10, 15 minutes, but would just have been the acting, but you've kind of talked us through a lot of the facts and figures of it, so I don't have anything to add to that, Lynn. But I do want to say, just in terms of acting, I agree that I think Brent Spiner is great. We've already mentioned, I like the role play aspect that him and LeVar Burton bring, and I think Daniel Davis just steals the episode. He's just so good as Moriarty. And yeah, that's my thoughts. What about you, Sandy? Did you have anything else on the acting that you wanted to bring up?
Nothing else really to add, but Moriarty is pretty chilling, especially when Lynn reminded me that he said, you know, he's civilized but still dangerous, and it is that calm exterior. I thought was done very well.
Yeah, brilliant, great performance. And anything from you, Lynn?
Well, Moriarty does come up with a few corkers apart from that line. When the arch disappears, you've got that street lady screaming at him, it's dark magic, Moriarty. It's just the way he tilts his head and he goes, best kind, I'm sure, kind of like his interest is already peaked. And you know, it's a line when they get into the lab and they don't see Moriarty first, and he just says the line, and it's so calm and quiet the way he says this line, the time for games is over. And then they turn and see him, and it's so calmly said, you wonder what else is going to come after it. And you just see the fear in their eyes. And obviously, you know, is a doctor safe? Yeah, you're not going to hurt her. And it's the way he goes, and he stays so calm when he says it. I will if necessary.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I didn't think of that, but that is actually really
nothing
chilling.
In his voice. Absolutely nothing. It's like it's the most boring conversation in the world. But
so you know who absolutely will do it if necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Take it seriously for sure.
But then he's kind of throwing Terry Pratchett into this as well. I don't know how this line got in, and he's describing, you know, the Enterprise, in fact, that's a ship, and he says, "I am like a fly stuck on a turtle's back and flying through vast emptiness."
Exactly. Yeah. Before he fully understands what's going on. Yeah.
I just thought Terry Pratchett, and I'm asking myself where the elephants are underneath.
I'm not as au fait with Discworld, but I still know what you're talking about. So
I'm just kind of like thinking along the lines of, you've got flat earthers who also think that the whole world is on a turtle's back. And I'm like,
I know. Well,
I'm just like, oh, I never expected that line to crop up.
Never mind. We can't account for people's foolishness, but awesome. Well, in that case, like I said, we don't have super long left, but I wanted to go to the audience critics' response to this episode. As always, open the subspace communications.
Incoming transmission.
I always put out a prompt on social media to ask what people think, but I'm not getting a lot of responses lately. So if you do see me ask about the Trek episodes we're reviewing, please feel free to comment your opinion. We're never going to judge you. We're never going to say, you know, you're wrong and or anything like that. And we want to hear from you. So I do have a small amount about this episode, but I kind of padded it out with a little bit of the critics' response and some of the people behind the show to make it a little bit more of a section that has a bit more juice to it. So first of all, we're going to I believe this is from Threads, and it is Frank Fury 74 who says, I definitely enjoyed the episode, especially the character of Moriarty. Geordi's slip created an actual opponent for Data since he was missing the point of the adventure. Fun episode, and I'm glad we got a follow-up in the years to come. 4 out of 5. So that was his thoughts on that. From the Facebook group Star Trek Next Generation Fan Club, Michael Romo says, one of my favorite episodes, Moriarty was fantastic and it was a great Data episode. Seeing him as close as he could be to being afraid/disturbed when Moriarty showed him the picture of the Enterprise was terrific. Also a great observation of the danger of AI becoming self-aware. William Rain comments, 5 stars. I love most holodeck episodes on Star Trek because they add character depth, making our characters feel realistic. Cool. Lots of positive responses there. And that's it for the audience. Like I said, very disappointing. So please do comment if you get a chance. But in terms of other people's views on the episode, Morris Hurley remarked, it's a wonderful episode. We had carriages, old London, and I thought the guy who played Moriarty was just wonderful. Then learn his name. I've never seen anybody play Moriarty better than that. Despite the issues with filming, the director Rob Bowman was still proud of the episode and said, certainly Brent Spiner came through with flying colours, and everybody did. The original draft of that script was so eloquently written, absolutely beautiful, but it was probably a 2-hour episode at least and was written way, way down. But that was a wonderful script. We pulled the episode off. In 2016, The Hollywood Reporter rated it the 10th best episode of Next Gen and the 26th best episode of all Star Trek to date. James Hunt of Den of Geek gave it a 100% watch rating and remarked it was a fantastic episode. In particular, he praised concepts explored about computers and artificial intelligence, as well as the Data and Geordi character sequences. Keith DeCandido, writing for Reactor, rated it 7 out of 10. In 2016, Time magazine rated the holographic Moriarty as the 5th best villain in the Star Trek franchise. And in 2020, Looper listed this as one of the best episodes for Data, remarking that it is the Next Generation having a whole lot of fun. So, yeah, I think pretty much universally all good praise, no real criticisms. So, with that out of the way, then we're going to deal with our thoughts on the various bits and pieces, starting with our favourite character moment and line, as I always like to do. Sandy, I'm going to come to you first because, again, you would have known what to expect for this. So who is your favourite character, your favourite moment or scene, and your favourite line, if you can have one for the episode?
Yeah, for this episode, I really do like Moriarty. I mean, he's the different element in this episode from all the other episodes. So he did stick out. And I did like mostly when he was, it's more than one line, but when he's explaining what he's going through in the moment, and when he says, just for context, my mind is crowded with images, thoughts I do not understand, yet cannot purge. They plague me. You and your associate look and act so oddly, yet I've never met nor seen the like of either of you. I'm very familiar with you both. It's very confusing. And then here's the line that I like. I have felt new realities at the edge of my consciousness readying to break through. And so it's just that him explaining what it's like to go from the character Moriarty to someone that's aware of more than that, kind of like paralleling enlightenment for people.
Yeah.
I just really thought that was very cool.
Awesome choices. Yeah, I love that. I love that there's kind of an arc of the emergence of Moriarty's consciousness, that he starts off with like, you're familiar yet not, you're all these, and then towards the end when he he addresses him and says, Mr. Data, and you'll notice I no longer call you Holmes. I'm like, oh, okay, he's becoming even more aware now of what's going on. So yeah, totally great choices. So yeah, I mean, that was I'm assuming that was your moment and line covered, and your favorite character would be Moriarty in this. So cool. So over to you then, Lynn. Favorite character, moment, and line. You've done it for some Doctor Who, so you probably would hopefully know what to expect for that.
I'm with Sandy on this one. I'm going with Moriarty because he looks so mild mannered. Guy's a nasty piece of work. I like. I've got 2 lines that I like. One's very, it gives you hairs in the back of your arms. I will, if necessary. When he's talking very, very mild manner to everybody. And you just kind of think, hold on, you're going to kill someone if necessary? Yeah. They don't actually realize he's got that level of thinking already, and he's already growing that quickly.
And he turned off the protocols that kept them safe. He knew to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
which happens they name wrong, by the way. They call it mortality failsafe, and then in every other episode it's safety protocols, which was really jarring to me because they changed the name. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but there is one where Moriarty lets go Pulaski, And the thing is, if he did become a real being, he would become more of a physical threat because he would have the knowledge of the actual computer aboard the Enterprise. So it's very, very good that Picard actually does that. But it's when they're all leaving and he's talking to Pulaski about, I might see you again, madame. And she's like, I might be a very, very old woman by the next time you see me. And
I would still fill you
take the innuendo as it comes, but I'll still fill you full of crumpets, madame.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'm so sorry. Moriarty's in love. He wants to stuff her full of crumpets.
Certainly nothing sexual about it.
I heard the line and I thought, what the hell?
Only you would read it that way.
No, I'm just looking.
No, not only her.
Okay, fair enough.
I heard the line and I thought, I'd still fill you full of crumpets. What is that what they call smut back in those times?
It was an eyebrow raise for me, certainly.
So yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's mine.
I'm not touching that any further.
Please leave it there. I don't want my daughter listening, and it's bad enough.
I'm not going to expose her to smut in a Star Trek podcast. How dare you? But anyway,
and that's when they changed it from scones to crumpets, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but never mind. My favorite character was actually Data, because I just love Data and I like his kind of development. But I will say Moriarty was very close, so I can kind of agree with the both of you there. My favorite moment kind of echoes what we got in one of the audience feedbacks. It's the reveal of the picture of the Enterprise, because it's just such a cool, shock, chilling moment. Data's reaction and then the way Geordi actually shows it. And whoever it is that did that drawing is very good, because I've tried drawing a little silhouette of a Galaxy class ship and it's not bloody easy. And my favorite line is just the exchange at the end of I do not want to die and I do not want to kill you, because I just think it perfectly sums up the morality of Next Gen and of Picard, and that Moriarty wasn't really out there, wanting to rule the world, or he just wanted to live, which I think sums the episode up quite nicely. So,
and you wonder why Q thought that Picard was one of the more reasonable human beings in the whole entire universe.
Yeah, I've always thought that. I mean, without wanting to get into too many other episodes, there's lots of moments when Picard could be a real jerk or could, stand his ground and be stubborn. But he will shame himself in front of Q and be like, look, if it saves lives, I don't care. So, yeah. Anyway, moving to the conclusion then, and the score out of 5 stars, as we always do. Let's see. Lynn, I'm going to come to you first for your conclusion and score, please.
Okay. I got to take... Right, I would put this 5 out of 5.
Okay.
But I'm not. I'm going 4. My reason being, there was a lot more in this episode that could have been expanded for a TV movie and further developed. I know they only had so long. Yeah. They did so well with what they had, but there was a few things I would have liked to be delved into and developed to a much deeper level and kind of make more people's skin crawl, basically.
Yeah,
I'm okay, folks. If you're listening, I'm one of these that I love my horror, and my daughter loves jump scares, and my husband, well, he just giggles at the horror, and we don't mind the bloodshed because as long as it's got a story, but there's violence, blood, knives, whatever. It's a film. Take it as a film, and you kind of want an episode to kind of grab you. And while Moriarty is quite a wonderful character, Data is good, Picard is good, but Moriarty's more of a emerging figure with a lot more there.
Yeah.
Yes, it could have perhaps done a little bit more, but this is 1988 to 1990. It's fantastic for what it is. So I'd say it's about a 4.5, but it's not quite a 5 for that reason.
So what are you going to go with then in the end?
4.5.
4.5. That's perfectly understandable. I mean,
I can't push it to a 5 because I would have liked a little bit more detail, perhaps a bit more menace.
I completely agree with you. And even the episode director said, there's enough there to have been a 2-parter and fill up. So it does feel a bit rushed. That's perfectly, absolutely understandable.
That's the only reason it's not been given a 5. If it was a little rushed, there was a lot more content. But what they did manage to do was to manage to get it underneath people's skins to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, 4.5 is a very bloody good score. So And so what about you then, Sandy? Conclusion and score, please.
I had put a 4 for my score, and much of my thinking parallels Lynn's. I felt that it was a bit superficial for such a deep concept, but I also, alternatively, why it's higher than average is because it was such a fresh concept and idea, and I did appreciate this deviation from the exterior threats. And that is why, I did give it something a little better than average, and why I think on it fondly, considering it was a holodeck episode, which typically aren't my favorite.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, that's 4 out of 5 for you then. And I just said it's a good little episode, not hugely consequential, but it does still engage with some surprisingly big ideas. The nature of existence, what constitutes life on a literal and philosophical level, how far technology should go, and how we choose to respond when those boundaries get tested. In that sense, it's a great example of what the holodeck format can do for Star Trek storytelling, and it also makes a decent case against the idea that the first 2 seasons of Next Gen are some kind of worthless write-off. On the negative side, indulging in the play acting when we're meant to have a sense of real danger comes off as a little bit silly and undermines the drama in places, and the resolution does feel a bit rushed and ultimately slightly inconsequential, which is probably an inevitable result of trying to cram a concept like this into 45 minutes. But the depth of the ideas, the immersive holodeck framing, and especially the performances make it more than worthwhile. Daniel Davis in particular gives what I'd call an all-time great guest performance. There's a real sense of presence to him, the way he carries the character and holds the screen in a way that instantly elevates every scene he's in. I'm glad his story was continued, and his performance and the ending practically demanded it should have been. Overall, it's a strong, idea-driven episode that shows off Star Trek's versatility at its best. Some thematic nitpicks and a slightly flawed ending keep it from being absolutely top tier, but it's still up there for me as a solid 4 out of 5 as well. So, putting those scores together, dividing by the 3 of us here, and then rounding slightly up, gives a final score for elementary tier data of 4.2 out of 5, which is still very high tier. So nothing to be concerned about there if you're a fan of the episode, I think. So
nice average, yeah.
Yeah, very, very. And so as Data hangs up the Deerstalker and pipe for now, we come to the end of another of our holodeck adventures. It remains for me to thank any of our audience who've been with us. Again, please do interact with us wherever you can. You can find our link tree in the episode description to all of our various social medias. We're on most sites except X because fuck Elon Musk. And you can interact, comment, give us your opinions, and please do respond if you see our audience prompts for opinions on the episode. And you can always find me on my personal socials around there as well. And I think that's all we have to say for that. So, and I also obviously have to thank my 2 great guests for being here. First of all, thank you, Sandy, for coming back to the Trek world. Did you have a good time?
I did have a good time. It was nice to meet Lynn. Thank you for having me today.
Hey, no problem. I'm pleased you 2 got on with each other. That's always half the battle when we get on and everyone can contribute. So awesome. And did you have anywhere people can find you online, Sandy, or anything you want to plug?
No, nothing at the moment.
No, fair enough. You can always, if you want to reach Sandy, you can always ask me and I'll see if I can get a message to her. I think that's usually what Vianne says because she doesn't have her own socials. Yeah, if you really want to reach me, ask Mike. So there we go. So, and what about you, Lynn? Did you have a good time talking Star Trek for the first time here?
Yeah, I like it just as much as I do for talking Doctor Who, so that's a good thing.
Awesome. Hopefully you haven't had a horrible time and I've been a good host for you then. So thanks again for coming.
Yeah, like I say, you can find me co-presenting with Stephen Rogerson, Sean Bailey, and Peter Langton on an adventure in time and space, a Doctor Who podcast. We're across different platforms, including Twitter and Facebook. And we're in the middle of doing plugging some gaps with books. I'm recording tomorrow for Scream of the Shalka, which is Richard E. Grant being officially the Ninth Doctor in animation. So, we're currently doing David Tennant and going to be moving on to Patrick Troughton towards the end of the year. So, come and have a listen if you want.
Brilliant. I will always link that and all of Thistle podcasts that you guys do in the episode descriptions as well. I was on that episode just last week, on that podcast. I'm not sure when the episode will be out, but I was on the episode that reviewed the Tom Baker book Scratchman. I was supposed to be on the Scream of the Shalka episode, but I'm not really in a place to want to talk about Doctor Who right now. I feel like it would just be 2 hours of me ranting about how much of a dick Russell T Davies is. So it's probably best I don't do that. But I did send Stephen a little statement because he asked me if I wanted to contribute my thoughts on the news. And I said, okay, well, on your head be it, because here's my statement, which is already ridiculous.
Oh, I'm not going to repeat what he said about that. He said all he said was, yes, he has sent me something, and it's very particular. That's all he said. And I went, I've been chatting to him. And he's as local as me, so I wouldn't be surprised by what he's put down there. So
I didn't mince my words, put it that way, but I'll see how much of that actually gets read out and on the episode when you guys.
Well, some of it will be. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, awesome. And and we will of course be back next week when we are swapping 19th century detectives for 20th century secret agents, and DS9 goes all 007. In the meantime, be careful what you ask a computer to do, but do enjoy some tea and crumpets if you have any. And remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, part of the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel. Hit or Miss Star Trek is hosted by Mike Wilson, scripted, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson, based on an idea by Mike Wilson and Will Templar. Follow us on YouTube, your podcatcher of choice, and our social media. Links to all of these can be found by clicking on the link tree in the episode descriptions. This podcast is a Media Matters original production. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast throughout subspace. We'll be back for another thrilling trek through the stars soon, but for now, hailing frequencies closed.
Try to warp out of here at once, maximum speed.